So, in this episode, we're going to talk about something that we get asked a lot. And I'm willing to say that if we had known the answer to this 10, 15, or 20 years back, we would have been a lot farther ahead. Our
It would
life
have
would have changed forever.
absolutely. Today, we're going to talk about how to build your wealth blueprint. And we're going to get into the 3 guiding principles that allowed us to build our wealth blueprint and how we also help other investors build their blueprint for achieving generational wealth. That's what we're going to talk about today.
I want to take you in the past a little bit here. Both Palak and I got graduate degrees. We followed the traditional path of getting a corporate job, climbing the corporate ladder, focusing a lot on really increasing our income, and then saving a little bit and putting it away in our 401k or sometimes a stock market. And after having done that for close to 15 years, both of us, we realized that we were nowhere close to financial freedom. We were nowhere close to creating the kind of wealth that would allow us to spend more time with our family, do the things that we really wanted to do.
And we were both high earners, and we still couldn't see ourselves retiring anytime soon. And it's 15 years each.
And, to that point, we're always taught so much about creating income, but nobody really teaches us how to create wealth. And that's one of the reasons we're starting this podcast is this needs to be talked about a lot more.
Right. Absolutely. So the 3 guiding principles are generational wealth, passive income, and time and location freedom. And it sounds really simple, right? When you just put it that way, 3 guiding principles, generational wealth, passive income, and time and location freedom. However, we have noticed that a lot of investors, as they start building their wealth and paths towards retirement, they achieve maybe 2 out of these 3. They don't achieve all 3. But to truly feel wealthy, free, and have that income that you don't have to compromise your lifestyle for, you need all 3. And so that's what we're going to talk about today, how to create your own wealth blueprint with these 3 guiding principles in mind.
And before we get into the guiding principles, there's a couple of mindset shifts that we had to make that
Right.
are important to talk about, right? One is that in order to create true generational wealth, we need to take a certain amount of risk,
Yes.
right? And we're always taught, or at least growing up, both of us were taught to be very risk averse, right? We were always taught, but you're not good at business. You don't know enough about money. And money was always a taboo sort of topic.
Yeah.
And as a result, we never really thought about investing that much or ROI or the risks associated with different things other than just investing in the tried and tested, like the stock market. And that was definitely a mindset shift for us where we had to start thinking of, how do we build our wealth and looking at the people who are wealthy, right?
Right.
They've had to take certain amount of risks.
Right. And the wealthy are passing this mindset along to their kids. And we didn't inherit this mindset. We had to create it for ourselves. And flexing that risk-taking muscle, we always thought that it was something that you're born with. But over time, we've learned that this is something that the wealthy teach their kids. And this is something we can all learn. It's not really a talent that you're born with. It's a skill set that you can develop over time. It's like a muscle. The more you flex it, the better it gets.
That's right. And, the other mindset shift that we had to make was working in corporate for so long, we're used to somebody giving us the vision.
Yes.
Right? Like, here's the vision for the company. All we had to come up with is our goals to be able to align with that vision so we can achieve the vision for the company.
Right.
But in life, as we started building wealth or had this desire to build generational wealth for our family, we realized that we had to come up with that vision ourselves. Nobody was going to give us any sort of vision to aim for. It's literally sky's the limit. But at the same time, if we didn't sit down and write our vision and craft our vision in terms of where we want it to be from a wealth perspective 5, 10, 15 years down the line, it was not going to happen.
And the last piece that I want to talk about today is really knowing why you're doing this. And, we both had good incomes. And so we weren't really doing it for an income. We were doing it to build generational wealth and have that freedom along with the income, right? So having that why in mind, having that, knowing that we were doing it to be free and to build wealth allowed us to not just focus on the strategy that we were after, because as if you hang out in the real estate circles, you will see that people constantly talk about the strategy. But knowing this why that we were after allowed us to also focus on the method of execution, because you can choose a strategy, but the freedom is in how you execute it. And so that's one of the things we're going to touch on today as well.
I love it. And, so now let's talk about, I think now that you have some of this context, let's get into the three guiding principles that we've used to create wealth for our family. So the first one is creating generational wealth, right? That is one of the key guiding principles that you want to keep in mind as you're building your wealth blueprint. And let's break that down a little bit in terms
Right.
of how to do that.
So, the first component in building generational wealth is understanding what is going to increase the velocity of our money. So, when we have income and then we just act like consumers, right? We're using that income to buy the things that we need in life and moving on to the next thing, there is no velocity of our money. Next step, maybe we'll do a little bit better. We save a little bit of money, we collect some interest from the banks. But as we all know, the interest rates are usually lower than the inflation rates, right? So the money just loses value sitting in our bank accounts. So maybe we invested in the stock market, maybe we invested in our retirement accounts. The velocity of the money is still pretty slow. What we wanted to do was we wanted to find a way to increase that velocity of the money so we can recycle it again and again to build assets along the way. Did I say it right? Do you have anything to add to that?
No, I think that's right. And this is this mentality of a lot of people approach real estate from just the perspective of how do I create income from real estate. But I think, and that's fine. Look, depending if you're a realtor or if you are involved in real estate from a transactional perspective, that's great. It'll help you generate income. But again, being very clear on what our goal was, which is building wealth, we wanted to focus on things that truly help you build wealth through real estate, which is buying and holding assets, right? That's what it comes down to.
Right, not peddling real estate. The next piece was commercial financing. So what we realized was that in wanting to grow a real estate portfolio or an asset portfolio for ourselves, we wanted to leverage our money, because that's the amazing thing about real estate investing. You can leverage a small amount of money to build big assets for yourself and for your family. And we wanted to do that. But conventional finance has limitations. It's going to stop you from acquiring properties after a certain point. But we wanted the ultimate scalability option for our portfolio. And so commercial financing was one more piece that we had to take into consideration when building generational wealth.
That's right. And one thing for if you're listening to this podcast and if you don't know about different real estate strategies, specifically the one that we chose, it's the BRRRR strategy, and it's an acronym for buying a distressed property, rehabbing it, renting it out, and refinancing to pull all the cash out. Right. And what that does is, with this strategy, it's also known as value add investing strategy. And what this does is it allows you to increase the velocity of money by using the same money to fix up an asset, pull that money out because you're adding value and forcing the appreciation, and using that same money to do the next deal and the next deal. And that's what really attracted us to the strategy, is that this would allow us to scale our assets very quickly. So instead of just buying one or two houses a year from the income that we are generating from our day jobs, we could buy a lot more assets because it removed the capital constraint.
Absolutely.
And that was amazing.
And then the last piece when it comes to generational wealth is, if you aren't someone who was born with a silver spoon in your mouth, just like we weren't, we don't come from money. we don't have parents who can guide us, who can really teach us the ins and outs of real estate investing, really consider hiring a mentor. Becoming part of a mentorship program can allow you to collapse time instead of losing money by making mistakes. Now you're paying someone so that you don't have to make the same mistakes that they made. And that really allows you to, shorten that trajectory that those of us who don't get this from our family, we can now achieve that as well.
Yes. And the second guiding principle that we want to talk about today is creating passive income, right? And what do we mean by passive income? Because just to be clear, real estate is not completely passive, especially our strategy. You need to put in some work. You need to be able to buy these assets, to do the rehab for these assets, and we do it through systems and process and teams. And we still work not too many hours a week to be able to do that, because we have the structure and we treat it like a business. But creating passive income where one day, if you decide to quit your job, you have enough passive income coming in through your real estate investments that it allows you to sustain your lifestyle, right? That's what it is.
Right. And now we work on our portfolio. We work about 30 minutes a day, I would say, and about 3 to 4, 5 hours a week max. And the portfolio continues to grow, and the portfolio sustains itself. And that's because we have learned and we have implemented systems and processes within our business. And that's going to allow you to take a business that may not be passive and turn it into a relatively passive opportunity, so that you're not creating yet another 9 to 5 for ourselves, because that's not what we're doing this for, right? We're doing this to have that time freedom. The next piece when it comes to passive income is really choosing a strategy that is not volatile. So, we hear all these fun strategies come up every so often, and entrepreneurs really have shiny object syndrome, right? Like, we love chasing new things and new fun ideas, but that's not where long-term wealth is made. That's not where passive income is made. Passive income is a product of taking strategies that are not volatile, that are long term, and that allow you to create an income that is sustainable for an extended period of time. And that's why we really love long term buy and holds. And this strategy is age old. It's been done for, I don't know, decades, hundreds of years. And this strategy remains tested and tried over various market fluctuations, and it survived the test of time. So choosing a strategy that is not volatile allows you to build that passive income that is predictable.
And add to that, it's really I love the boring part of real estate, right? Which is, it just because something is exciting doesn't mean that it's going to be a long-term way to create wealth. What I love about real estate is that boring. It's, you're spending just a lot of time in the market, which is really the safest way to build wealth over a long period of time. You're not trying to do that overnight. You're not trying to do that in a month. It takes time, but that's the best part of real estate, is that you buy it and you hold on to it. It's about time in the market. It's not about timing the market and just making a quick buck. It's about being in the market for a long period of time, which allows the magic of appreciation to happen.
Absolutely. And one of our very old business mentors, and very early on when we were first building the business, he had once told me that, to build a business that is scalable, and it's scalable without you burning out, you have to think of this business not as a startup, right? In the beginning, of course, there is a little bit of work involved, and you will have to work on it to get that business running. But if you are operating a business that constantly feels like a startup, that is not a sustainable, scalable business. A business that can be scalable over the course of the next bunch of years is going to be a business where you first set the right foundation, but then you can scale that business without it feeling like a startup, without like having that hustle mentality on a day-to-day basis, years and years into it.
That's right. And that was one of that actually is a perfect segue into the third guiding principle which we had, which is we wanted to create time and location freedom, right? And this is again one of the guiding principles that helps us make decisions on our business on a daily, monthly, weekly basis to make sure we are creating the business in a way that gives us the time and location freedom that we want.
Absolutely. And even though I had quit my job when I started, scaling this business, and then a few years later you joined full time in the business, even though I had that opportunity, our kids were really young at that time. And I wanted the ability to run this business from the playground if I wanted to. We had a newborn and a toddler, and it was rough. It was, two kids back to back, not easy, as anyone with small children know. So, we had them back to back, and I was with them the whole time, and I really focused on making decisions that allowed me to be with them on a day-to-day basis, take them to the zoo whenever I wanted to, and still be able to operate the business. So a lot of the decisions we made early on were, hey, can we do this on a regular basis? Can we do this from anywhere in the world? And that has allowed us to acquire properties sight unseen, while traveling overseas with our kids. And that's allowed a lot of our students, like one of our students was just talking to us about it. They were like, we made an offer on a property while we were on a ferry on vacation. And this is possible if you build a business that way, if you make the decisions upfront that are going to allow you to build a business that lets you be free, lets you be time and location independent.
And that's important to know because when we first got into real estate, that's not how we saw most real estate investors operate. Right. Most real estate investors that we saw were actively involved in the business. They're spending, 7, 8 hours at the job site. If there's rehab going on, they were involved in it either as a realtor or as a wholesaler, or sometimes they would start their own GC, like a general contracting company. And we saw a lot of that, and we were very clear from the beginning that we didn't want to be at the job site 8 hours a day. We didn't want to be doing a lot of the transactional things that we could easily outsource. For us, time freedom was important and location freedom, right? So the way we built our business is we can be anywhere in the world and our business would sustain itself, not only maintaining the business but even growing the business remotely. And I think that is critical.
Absolutely. So those are the three guiding principles. So just to kind of add some finer points to it, we chose the BRRRR strategy because it fit a lot of the things that we were looking for from the three guiding principles. But more importantly, we figured out our own method of execution. That's our scale framework. And, in one of the future episodes, we'd love to break that down. But we figured out a method of execution that allowed us to build generational wealth, have that passive income, and still be time and location independent as we were growing this business. And that's the key element to building any wealth blueprint, because what you don't want is to create yet another 9 to 5 for yourself, which is what you're trying to escape to begin with.
That's right. And, if you want, we talked about the guiding principles today that have helped us build the wealth blueprint that we needed. If you want to dig a little bit deeper and actually create your wealth blueprint, do we have something for you?
Yes, we have an amazing 5-day real estate accelerator. So you can go to the investoraccelerator.com and sign up. It's pretty incredible because what we're going to do through this 5-day challenge is we help you create your own wealth blueprint. You can reverse engineer your own retirement through this. And it's been pretty amazing. A few thousand people have gone through it already. And we've seen some amazing results. So yeah, come join us, theinvestoraccelerator.com.
Yep. Again, thank you so much for joining us today. And we'll see you guys on a future episode.
Bye now.
Take care.